Hello, beautiful angels. I'm so blessed to be here. If you found me, I'm so grateful that you found me. And if you are returning, I'm so blessed to be in your energy presence again. So I want to put this video together, make it very simple for those of you guys new to this enlightenment journey, and for those of you guys maybe who have been devoted and committed to your spiritual practices for quite some time. And we're still on a path and we're still trying to find our way. Maybe we're going through suffering, or maybe we just don't quite understand certain things. Okay. And so, this one thing, although it is only one thing, it isn't an easy thing to do. Okay. But with dedication, devotion, and commitment, this one thing will set you free. It will release you from suffering. It will change relationship between you and everything and everyone. Okay, and this one thing is known as love. And so when we're talking love, we're talking about true heart-based consciousness coming from a heart space where we bring our mind into the heart. Okay, so now when we are in programming or asleep or we're still in the matrix, our mind is running on programs for many lifetimes. Okay, but let's just stick to the lifetime we have here. We have the veil of forgetting. When we're born, we don't remember anything, and so we're given a name, we're told our gender, and we have all sorts of social constructs and traditional beliefs and parental upbringing and educational system upbringing and all of this stuff, okay, that gets compacted over time. And so this is the experiences that we carry, okay. And so now our mind has an experience with these identities, and so it starts to create an identity, attachment, ego, persona around all of these things. And so it believes it is real. It believes the name Linda is real. It believes that it really is a teacher. It believes that it really is all these things. And so we know as spiritual beings, we are not the mind nor the body. Okay, so we aren't even awareness itself. We are the being, and we are the being that has awareness, that can observe, and is not identified or attached to any of these constructs. Okay, so when we're still in programming, our mind is in a lot of inertia that is built over time. Okay, and so we could be in a conversation with someone, and the conversation can sound a lot like, what can I say to be appreciated in this moment? Or what can I say to defend myself in this moment? Or what can I say right now that's going to make me sound the smartest? Or what can I say right now that will protect myself? And so the mind is on this program that's running, okay? The mind, aka the ego. And so when we are the observer, we notice these mind stories that are happening when we're having conversation, when we're sitting in peace, trying to wash the dishes or do whatever we're doing. And so when we bring this mind into the heart, it is very difficult to do. Okay, it's difficult to do because the mind is a group of energy that is programmed in a certain way, okay, just like a muscle. And so this programming is on autopilot and it's constantly running its program. And so we talk about here having to observe that thought and qualify the thought and take a look at it as it's coming in and say, is this a valid thought? And that's just a lot of busy work. Okay, so for those of you guys don't want to do busy work, you're just looking for one simple practice that's going to transcend all of the busy work, you know, transcending egos, having to monitor your thoughts, having to sit through meditation, you know, crystals, tarot. Spirituality has nothing to do with any of that stuff. Okay, how long you meditate for, or how many crystals you have, and whatever readers you connect with, or any of that stuff. Okay, true spirituality is reaching a state of enlightenment and connecting with source. Okay, and now source isn't an entity out there, and so I'm going to call, God source, because God is source, and I know what I mean when I say God, but I don't want to confuse those of you guys who, maybe come from a religious background, seeing God as an external entity of someone that we're devoting ourselves to, that's outside of ourselves. Okay, perpetuating this separateness from God and self. God is love, God is creator, and we are all an extension of God. Okay, so my being is an extension of God, and so therefore I'm experiencing my life, okay, as an experience, an expression of God. And so as my body might, go through phases, I'm young, I'm a teenager, I'm middle-aged, I'm elderly, and then I die, my being is consistent. My being never changes. My being is always, always omnipresent. And in fact, it is so there and consistent that we don't even see or connect to this. Okay, this is the I am being. And so those of you guys who meditate could certainly connect with that energy. But for those of you guys who have a challenge maybe connecting to the being, if you close your eyes, and feel your hand, you can make movements. And so these movements that are happening with your body, okay, with your eyes closed, you can sense and you can feel that it is part of you. Okay, and where is that felt? So it's not in the mind, but it is felt somewhere within your being. Okay, you can't quite describe it, and this is why it is very difficult to understand spiritual experience unless you experience it for yourself firsthand. And so you can read a whole bunch of spiritual books, you can have a whole bunch of theories, and you can have a lot of knowledge when it comes to spiritual information and education. But it is only when we experience a spiritual experience fully to grasp an inner knowing of what it is that it truly means. Okay, not written in words or on a piece of paper. And so when we feel our extension of our body or hands, okay, we're connecting to it. We know inside that we are moving the hand, okay, but the being is a solid state of awareness, okay, and so we are aware and we're observing the energy that is in motion, okay, whether eyes are open or closed, it doesn't matter, we're still connected to that, okay, and so this being that is always there is the same being that needs to be aware of whether it is choosing love or choosing to go off into the mind and to allow the egoic self to run a program. So it is difficult to do when we are not in awareness, in mindfulness. And so is it difficult to do? At first it is. Absolutely. It's like an Olympian, having to practice, having to practice and to keep going into mind space. But if we do it consistently for a month or two, guess what? You have the rest of your life ahead of you, clear and void of whatever it is that ails you. And so we might have a challenge because the inertia of the ego and the mind has been built up. And so there's a lot of unhealthy patterns that are happening in the mind that are constantly there. And so our job is to bring the mind back into the heart, bring the mind into the heart. And so the one practice is, how can I be loving right here, right now? Because love is always present. Love is always a choice. Okay, love is God. God is omnipresent. And so in this moment, whatever it is, I don't care what's happening, there's always an option to love. Okay, and love can come through many different forms. And so we need to understand what it is that we identify as love. And so if our understanding of love is one that comes from the mind, then we are still not doing the practice right. Okay, right. We're still not connecting to the practice through an inner standing, a spiritual experience of what love is. Okay, so love from heart consciousness does not expect anything in return. The heart is of service and open. It is giving. It is accepting. Okay, it is truthful, capital T. Now, this doesn't mean I have these experiences and these understandings and these judgments, and so now I'm going to communicate them truthfully, because I'm still interjecting my own judgments and my own perceptions onto situations. And so being in mindfulness awareness, not being in mind, doesn't allow us to project and interject situations with our experiences. And so now we are observing a situation from true awareness, true presence. And so we can see the space where love sits, and we can choose. Okay, and choosing love is to be honest and truthful, but from a loving place. What would love want me to do and say right here, right now? And so it doesn't mean that we don't have the mind still talking, but we're aware that the mind is bringing up whatever it tries to bring up. And through practice of detaching from the mind, letting it sort of audition for your attention and grasp, trying to grasp your attention to pull it into it, you're like the Olympian that doesn't pay it no mind, or add wood to that thought and keep it going and follow it down the rabbit hole. You see the thought and you will let the thought pass as you would a cloud. And now when you connect with the heart space and you're looking at what the most loving thing that you could possibly do, it's going to not pull at your emotions from a place that is highly triggered. Okay, so the emotions are only highly triggered when the thought is pulling at the emotion, because the emotion never lies. The emotion is a mirror of what your thoughts are. And so if we are thinking off course, meaning it's not true, it's based on a projection, it's not in line with what the Creator knows to be true, the reality of a situation that we're experiencing, and then the reality with the capital R of what's truly going on when we're aware and present. So two different realities. Okay, which reality are we engaged with? Are we in the reality that is of our mind, or are we aware and observing the reality that is going on from the Creator's perspective? And so when we're in our reality, we start to believe certain thoughts, and then our emotions will reflect back to us what those thoughts are. And so if it's not in line with the reality, capital R, of what the Creator has created, I'm missing out. I feel a lack. I'm sad. I'm hurt. I'm jealous. I'm angry. All of those things. Those things are feelings that are telling you, hey, you're getting off course, and you're getting off course because it is not in line with reality, like the reality of the universe. You're in your own reality, and your reality is skewed based on projections, based on experiences, based on judgments, and based on everything that your mind and your ego is wanting to throw. And so when we're in the heart space, the heart isn't attached to any of that. It's not, I feel a certain way, and therefore I'm mistaking this as love. Okay, no. Love is complete opening of the heart space, being completely receptive to what is reality, falling in love with reality, regardless of what it is, because we can see beyond the illusion. And so there is no suffering in reality. When we sit in reality, we see all of God's children. We see all of love, because we are open. And we are not constantly in the energy of the inertia of the ego, which doesn't allow there to be space for us to see love in every opportunity, in every moment. And so when we connect to that moment to say, what is the most loving thing I can do right now? We are now saying, what would God want me to do? What is it here that is for my greatest calling? And to devote ourselves. And so the devotion must be greater than that of the ego. And so because the inertia of the ego and the mind is so heavy, we can't just throw out an attempt here and there to be in heart space and do a good deed. Okay, especially if the good deed is a deed there in order to attain something. Like I fed the poor, but I recorded it on social media. because I wanted to be approved or accepted, or I was on a date and I gave this elderly woman, a walk across the street because my date was watching me, and so I wanted to appear good in front of the eyes of my date. These are all reasons to turn it back to self, okay? That has nothing to do with opening the heart and doing a loving thing in line with true love and God's absolute love, okay? So what are we looking at? We're looking at waking up, putting in your phone, whatever it takes to say, God, show me, how can I be most loving today? What's the most loving thing I can do? And this is in every respect, relationship with self, meaning how do I speak to myself? What is it that I do? How is it that I'm connecting with food? How is it that I'm connecting with social media? How is it that I'm connecting with my family? How is it that I'm taking care of myself? Okay, and this can be relationship with others. How am I talking to my boss, my peers, my coworkers, and the janitor or the clerk at the store or whatever it is that I'm interacting with, everyday catalysts. And so when we're present in the moment, we're able to see love and choose love. And so how easy is it for us to argue our ego, our point, and to prove something that we're right or that we need to defend or we need to judge? And so when we do this judgment, it is hitting us first. And so just like the lightning bolt, when we process judgment, it goes through us. So the judgment has to come through us and out of us in order to project it onto someone else. So we, in turn, get the judgment. And this is why judgment is not good, because I now carry this judgment that I'm projecting onto all these people and all these things. And so to not project the judgment out, we can be very aware of the thought, how dare this person say that? How dare they, not agree, or whatever the thought is that comes through. And it doesn't mean suppress it. You see it, you understand it, but you do not allow anything but love to be flowing through you. Okay, so only love can flow through you, through expression and through action. So no longer are we acting out of hate, no longer are we reacting out of sadness or anger or allowing the ego to dictate what we say and what we do. Only love. Only love can drive my action. Only love can get me to act. And so if I'm feeling anything but love, I can sit with it however I need to, scream in my pillow, go walk up the street. If you're enlightened, doesn't mean you don't have feelings. The feelings will come. Okay, but when we recognize that any feeling that is negative, okay, it is not feeling in the positive arena of love and happiness and joy and all the positive things, then we know that we're going off course with our thoughts. And so we can picture out what it would look like to punch that person in the face or to send that nasty text or to yell at that person and do what it is and live that out in our mind, and we live it out, and then we say, okay, now that I've lived that out, what have I got here? What I've got here is I know that the heart's way is better. I know that once I act out of love, the outcome is better. And so it only takes doing this for some time that we find that the heart space is better. The outcome of the heart space is phenomenally better than the mind. The results are better. And we're pulling in all sorts of positive energy. Our vibration is higher. We now made a lot of space. And so when we are enlightened, when we're in peaceful state, when we're in loving state, we might seem very low in energy, but it's actually a very high frequency. Love is a very high frequency. And so this state of love is a high frequency, although it creates a lot of space. And the space allows there to be a lot of presence in your experience with people and situations. And so you are responsive. And the intelligence of the heart is phenomenally greater than the intellect of the mind. And so we're more intelligent in how it is that we can respond and how we can come up with creative ideas and communicate certain things that we couldn't if we were living in the reactive mind space of the ego. Okay, so we're going to practice love, and this is unconditional love. And love that is unconditional doesn't mean we enable and we, do anything here that allows people to misbehave or treat us poorly or be a doormat. Okay, we're absolutely not obligated to be in relationship with anyone or anything, including family members. Okay, so what we do is we look at everything objectively and we become of service and say, I love you, my brother, my sister. I love you, my brother, my sister. I could see God and love behind your projections or your challenges and your suffering. And so I might just sit here and listen if that's what this would call for, or meet them at their level. If you understand and you're aware, you can see when someone makes a comment which part of their ego it's kind of projecting from. And so your higher level of consciousness is able to meet people where they're at, and you can talk to this person in a way that will allow this person to challenge themselves, or if you know that this person is in a state of suffering and perpetual suffering, and that is their chosen state, we don't need to save them. We don't need to talk them out of it. We don't need to do anything except for accepting where they're at and that their journey is their journey. And the only person that can pass in judgments is that of the creator source, okay, and the universe. And the universe can go and create whatever path journey for that person that's appropriate. We are not required to rescue anyone or to heal anyone or to save anyone or to do anything at all. All we are required to do is be of love and service, okay? And sometimes love and service is telling someone the truth, in the most loving way, and it doesn't sound like, I'm just telling you my truth. I think you're an asshole, or I think you're this or that. It's, I've observed you, brother, sister, doing these things that I feel are hurting you in action. And because I love you, I am telling you that this is the reason I cannot allow myself to listen to you beat yourself up or talk yourself into repeating the same thing or make excuses for why it is that you're in suffering or victimhood or whatever the case may be. And so being loving is just accepting where that person is at and not pulling yourself into their drama by making it about you, getting emotionally pulled and being out of control with your emotions because someone else can trigger you or dictate whether you're happy or sad or jealous or mad. It doesn't matter, because when you're in a state of awareness and observing, you know that the only thing that could be generated from within you is because of you, because you are the creator. So you as the creator do not have to generate anything you do not want. You don't have to generate sadness. You don't have to generate anger. You don't have to generate reasons or excuses or anything at all. And so once you're at peace, knowing that you're in bliss and that you are the creator of your own energy and you are in peaceful state, then you're able to engage with others and your heart will want to be of service. Okay, because you can understand and see where other people are suffering or where they're still in the matrix or they're still traumatized or tormented or suffering because of the egoic belief and they believe it to be real and it is a dream. It's like seeing dream characters, getting upset over imaginary things. You wouldn't get upset once you woke up from your dream. You'd say, it was a dream. It's the same thing when you wake up. And so you're in the matrix world, seeing people getting mad at their computer, getting mad because so-and-so did this and such happened and giving their energy away. And you're looking at this like a dream. It's not reality. Okay, reality is that we're experiencing life as the creator in a temporary suit and a temporary mind that is just a function, okay? But our true state is the being state that is untouched and it is pure. And so when we feel love, and I'm talking absolute devotion to God okay, to source, to love in the moment. And we can always be assured that we're going to align ourselves with the best possible outcome. Okay, best possible outcome. And so if there's a challenge and we push up against it with more challenge, we're now creating that energetic charge. Challenge with challenge creates more challenge. Okay, and what we resist and fight, we're building. And so it comes back at us. And so ever watch these people arguing, okay? And they're arguing, and so there's this thing that we can generate through challenging, okay? But there's also being very receptive and understanding that the most loving thing I can do here is be a soundboard or be someone's mirror so that they can understand themselves. And you can tell, when you have a conversation with someone and you just hold up the mirror to them, that what they said or what it was that they believed or whatever might have been a statement of the ego, if it was an illusion or something that was built on shaky ground, and you hold up a mirror to them, you can almost see it within them, that they realize that trauma or that excuse or that belief that they were putting out there was something that they generated and that they were keeping up. Okay, and so we don't need to argue with them, and we just hold up the mirror and we see them realize, their own sort of shadow, if you will. Now, not everyone is on this journey, and that's absolutely fine. Okay, so if we're looking at ascending, if we're looking at, understanding that we don't have to continuously be monitoring thoughts, doing shadow work, continuously meditating, and doing all these things, that would indicate that we feel we are a separate self from the divine and we're trying to become something that we're not. And so we are already whole, we are already divine, we are already complete. We don't need to do anything, okay? But when we transcend past the ego, and like I said, I'm not going to lie, at the beginning it's difficult. It's like trying to hold down, a beach ball in the water, and the more you hold it down, the more it wants to jump up, like the ego. It will be in there. It'll be in there saying, you don't know what love is, or you haven't been loving all your whole life, or I just want to punch that person in the mouth. Okay, whatever the ego is saying, it's going to come through. And so our job is to be very committed and devoted to this. And why are we doing this? Because once we learn that love's way is better, and once we understand that we need to raise the vibration here on earth and consciousness, and we need to ascend in order for us to heal the collective energy, which is suffering right now, then it becomes a natural process. We're observing, we're wanting to be in stillness, we're wanting to do what's best. We just do these things. It isn't like pulling teeth. It's not difficult to be in mindfulness once we are committed to knowing that we just want to be loving. We just want to be of service. We just want to see the most loving thing in that moment that could possibly happen. That's it. And so we have to bring the mind into the heart and make that the permanent resonance of the jurisdiction of the mind. It's coming from heart space. It always wants to act with what is the most loving thing I could possibly do here, and if we could just do this one thing constantly with great conviction, dedication, and devotion, and we could pray and ask and say, God, help me to see what the most loving thing is I can do. Because if we're blinded by our own shadows and our traumas, we might think we're right. And so this is why the ego is tricky, because there's such a thing as the ego, when it starts to identify that being a service to self, wanting to appear in a certain way or protect or defend, because the ego only knows of two ways, and it is aversion to what it doesn't like, and then it knows to desire and attach to the things it wants and to chase the things it wants. So there are only two things that it knows of. And so once you no longer desire to seek and chase, and when you're no longer in resistance or have aversions to anything, the ego doesn't quite know what to do. And so then it starts to create a spiritual ego. And the spiritual ego is understanding that it needs to know everything or be more enlightened, or it creates all sorts of excuses, okay? Excuses as to why it's doing what it's doing, or it thinks it's doing something for the greatest good, or it thinks it understands or knows something. And so we know nothing. When we get to the state where we know nothing and every moment is completely new, it is the present moment, and we're in complete awareness, and we experience it completely different, because that is all that matters right here, right now. Whatever it is that has not happened yet before, in a complete different way. And I'm complete observation, giving my full dedication, always looking for the most loving thing I could possibly do right here, right now, in this moment. I assure you, your life will get better and better, okay? So, beautiful angels, I hope this helped you. Put it in your phone. Wake up. Wake up with this desire, this hunger to be in love with love, to feel what it feels like to open the heart space, to be there ready to give love, and not get discouraged or deterred or let the mind sort of let you astray. That's easy. You've done that so many times. Okay, you've done that so many times. This is where it's exciting, where life changes for you when you start to do things differently, because love's pulling you differently. You're responding differently. Your results are different. Okay, beautiful angels, this is your message, and I will see you again. Bye-bye.